I'm asking for an audience, Liz.
Oh, okay.
Two-parter.
Uh-huh.
Are you good at flirting?
No.
Pause for laughter there. And do you enjoy it, or do you prefer just getting straight to the point? No, like fun and games on the outside.
Oh, no, like you've got to do a bit of the flirting.
Bit of
but
flirting's
like,
fun,
I mean,
yeah.
gosh, my biggest problem is that I don't notice when people are flirting with
Yep.
me.
Ding, ding, ding.
And occasionally I don't realize when I'm flirting, so I flirt a little bit too close to the sun and things get a little bit awkward.
You get a bit too carried away, too ambitious.
I mean, I've had instances recently where I didn't realize I was flirting, but then I told somebody else what I said, and she was like, "Oh my God, Liz!" Even I got a bit like woo about that, and I was like, "Oh shit, damn it! I've led somebody on, and I didn't mean to." But yes, I think flirting is part of. I consider flirting a little bit of foreplay. Really, like you've got to have a little bit of verbal titillation to get yourself going. Do you not?
Missing the point that, or completely missing that someone is flirting with you seems to be a common fucking occurrence. I think are we too subtle with our with our messages and flirting? Are we too, or
absolutely,
are we just too
and
stupid?
I'm guilty of it myself. I have had a
self-esteem?
chat with someone recently who was like, "Oh my God, I'm such a flirt," and I was like, "Really?" Because I have had a real hard time figuring out whether you're flirting or not over the last couple of weeks. Like it's those kinds of things where people think they're putting themselves out there, but it's like when you're an actor, you always need to be louder than you think you are.
Yes, that's right. You can always deliver 10% more. You can
just don't use corny lines unless you're with someone who likes comedians.
Yes, that's true. There's many facets to the old flirting. If you have low self-esteem, you'll probably assume that no one's flirting with me. How could they be flirting with me? So
my
maybe
flirting
a bit of that
usually
as well.
involves self-deprecation, so
Yep,
it's not real healthy. Welcome to Ghost of Boyfriends Past. I'm Liz Best.
I'm Tom Harris. Hello, everybody.
It is a main episode today, which means that we have a guest, and I'm very excited about this guest. I met this lovely lady at the Bumble lunch that I have mentioned on air before. She is fabulous. She is Sam. She goes by CurvySam on all of the socials. Sam, welcome.
Come on down. Hello.
Thanks for having me in your beautiful podcasting room. This is so professional.
Oh,
Very
thanks.
welcome.
We love our little
Very
pod
welcome.
studio. Look, thank you so much for coming on. Why we wanted to get Sam on, and we'll get her to tell you a little bit about herself, is that she was telling me all about the fabulous communities that she has created around dating while plus size, and just about body positivity and loving yourself and feeling really fucking good about the vessel that you are in. So Sam, give us a little bit of a rundown on who you are, what you do, what your philosophy is, and all that jazz.
Anything you want to plug off the top as well.
Oh,
Chuck it
wow.
in, chuck it
How
in.
long have we got?
Plug away.
Go on.
Well, hi, I'm CurvySam. Everyone knows me as CurvySam. So on every platform. And I started off, I had some heartbreak. I was with someone for 7 years, and I decided to move to a tropical island and be a wedding coordinator.
Oh.
Because that's what you do. But you know what? There I lived in a really isolated space. It was on Hayman Island, and I was a part of an online community that existed at the time, and I started a blog, and that blog actually enabled me to travel worldwide. And I'm all about encouraging women to live their best lives, to live authentically, to show up, to not hide away and be like, oh, I need to lose 10 kilos before I go to this wedding. It's just about just being yourself and knowing that we all deserve love. And so I show people my fabulous outfits. I take them on the behind the scenes journey of life with me. I kind of call everyone that you guys are my virtual BFFs.
I kind of love that.
Best of friends forever, because you're never alone with the struggles you go through. And sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's sad, but I love how social media connects us all. And I run an organisation called Curvy AUs. We've been around for 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
It's for women and non-binary, and we host body positive events all over Australia, and pool parties and hikes and things that you would actually feel ashamed or embarrassed to do. Some people would feel ashamed, and we just put it in a safe space and be like, hey, we're all here together, let's do this.
So that's the message to someone who's never done an event with you guys before, or anything like it, even thought about it. What's the message to them? Just there's people at this fun,
Yeah.
There's people that you will like-minded people.
Exactly. Everyone likes different
Community.
flavors.
Yeah.
So there is a flavor out there for you. There's a flavor out there for me.
Everyone deserves love.
Absolutely.
And
That's
that's saying something because I'm usually very anti-love and romance. And so I'm agreeing wholeheartedly that everybody, no matter their shape, size, unless they're a serial killer, they deserve love.
I don't know. I feel like serial
But
killers
even then,
get love in prison.
Even then, the serial killers get a huge, disproportionate amount of love and
That's true.
attention
We are
from the world.
Middle-aged white women
We
of the
can't
world.
stop writing letters to them, falling and think, I know he murdered 6 people, but he's so handsome. What the hell is going on?
But he's got
Sorry.
his own house, so...
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, God, the bar is so low. Help.
It is shatteringly low. Well, on this episode, on this show, generally we have someone in to tell a story about love, dating, romance, etc., marriage gone by. Every now and then we sort of branch off to the side and get an expert in. Yes, you're an expert, Sam.
He's looking at me. I'm like, am I
to help cover orbiting issues in the world of love, dating, romance. And I think along our journey, Elizabeth, something you two mentioned just before is a huge lesson that we've already learnt, that someone, like, I'm a lanky, gangly kind of built guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like a tiny percent of the female population finds this they love it.
They've
right?
got to have it.
They have to have it.
10% at least.
3. Like, when you stop and seriously do the maths and the
The
numbers,
funny lanky guy, dude. That's like on
3%.
trend right now.
3%.
Come on.
3%. So my point being, you think that you have all these problems and issues that you don't like, but someone out there will see your shit and go, "Damn,
Yep.
I'm gonna have a bit of
yeah.
that." So that's a good reminder, I think, for everybody. You're not gonna win over everyone's hearts and minds and attention, right?
What's the name of that character from that show? And he's like, giggity, giggity.
Glenn Quagmire.
from Family Guy. Yeah.
Sometimes I get him in my head where I'm like, oh, yeah.
So into the hands of the expert, I think.
So look, first of all, we'll just run through the rules. So any stories that you're going to tell today, we need an alias
Yes,
for,
please.
because we're not about doxing on this show. We're about what we learn and what we
Absolutely.
can learn from people's stories. The other one is, if you figure out who Sam's talking about, don't be a dick. That's our don't be a dick. Don't be an armchair Columbo detective about it. We don't want you spreading around, because that's not the spirit of this podcast. The spirit of
Yes,
this
no.
podcast is sharing, learning, growing, kumbaya and all that shit. And the last rule that we have is no threats on mic.
Yes.
There's no one specific that we invented that rule for, but I just got really worried that someone might be like, that asshole, rah, 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 I'll come and get
Yes,
you. So
that's not the
even when
spirit.
I'm the guest on the episode, they still have to say
Everyone gets the same
no
rules.
threats.
Done.
So tell us some stories of dating times gone by where you've specifically, I guess, not had to deal with being plus size, but either, come up against people who were bastards about it or had some really amazing experience. And how do you put yourself out there and feel so fabulous while doing it? Because that's hard.
Gosh, I don't even know where to start. I mean, it's always a journey. And I have to note that I'm practicing a little bit of self-care at the moment and not dating.
Which I support wholeheartedly.
I have
Great.
tapped out. I picked a date and I was like, yep, I'm done. But obviously I have funny stories to share. And gosh, I want people to show up authentically, because me as a plus size person, what you're getting when you see my profile, obviously it's going to say something funny. It's full body photos, not edited. Like, I'm showing up as myself, and I want other people to do the same. And I went on a date once with someone, and you can kind of tell by camera quality these days for, what type of filter they've used. You're like, right, that was an Instagram filter 10 years ago.
Right.
That was taken with an iPhone 5,
Right.
the grainy images. So I went on a date once.
Yep.
With a person, and he turned up, and he was at least 20 kilos heavier and maybe 5 to 10 years older
Oh.
than what he thought.
Okay.
What he presented himself as. And do you know what? I turn up authentically and show up as myself. And I feel like these days you have to vet people. Like, I'm now a Snapchat girly. Like, I want to see, we're going to chat on Snapchat via video first.
Okay.
Yeah.
Before I get
yeah.
out of my pajamas to come meet you.
That is
You know?
a good point. I haven't thought about that before, because I'm like, oh God, I don't want to put on makeup and do all this, if it's not worth it.
Because you don't share phone numbers, because phone numbers are linked to absolutely everything these days. I don't
Okay.
and I don't want to share like CurvySam. So very much like Snapchat. Snapchat is my fuckboy mentality. Like, yeah, Snapchat it is.
Okay, great.
Just so I can be more comfortable with who they are. And I literally just have a burner Snapchat with a silly name, but I show up as like me and I talk to them and then be like, hey, let's go for a drink. But yeah, so now I do that. But in the past, showing up when people are just either married or just not who they say they are, it's just really disheartening. But to loop into one of the funniest stories, I don't know, embrace yourselves.
I'm
everybody. Braced, both hands on the table.
Readers at home, you've been warned.
And look, knuckles cracked.
We talked about the 3% in the world that identify with, loving the bones out of you. I accidentally went on a date with a feeder.
Oh.
Right. Now,
5 times.
Do we want to...
Accidentally 5 times. Accidentally 5 times.
Now, there mayhaps will be readers at home who don't know what a feeder is. Do we want to explain? I
want to hear you say what it is.
Well, a feeder in a feeder-feedee relationship, right? Because there has to be 2, right?
Yes.
At least a minimum of 2.
We're making you explain everything from now on.
And the feeder, right, children, class.
Yes.
I need a blackboard and diagrams. Well, the relationship, it's based on one partner feeding the other partner, and the other partner...
They get off on it, don't they?
Yeah, there's arousal.
There's a sexual element to it. On
feeding someone
to both
a
partners.
lot of food, usually.
Now, I'm going to set the scene for you.
Okay.
For a couple of years in a row, every Christmas, I would go to stay with my family in England. Mm-hmm. So, and they're busy working. I'd hang out with my great-grandma, would have the best jolly time, but I'd be swiping on the old Tinderoo because I was in a village in a remote area of the UK and I was getting pretty sick of my family.
And also,
every year.
You're on holidays, so you can just nope out of that situation and go back home.
Exactly. And I didn't have a car, so I couldn't exactly get around and, do all that. So on Tinder, matched with this person, let's call him Jim.
Okay, Jim.
Okay, Jim.
Jim. So Jim and I were chatting and I was having a night out with my cousins and we met up at a bar. I said to my cousins like, hey, I'm just going to go have a drink with this guy. Catch you soon, right? Mm-hmm. He met me at a bar and he had already ordered pizza. And he kind of played it off. So I sat down at this table and he's like, do you want a drink? And he's like, oh, I just thought you might be hungry. I've ordered some food.
Uh-huh.
This is 9:30 at night.
Okay. I just thought you might want a little late night entire pizza snack.
And I'd already had a few beverages. So I was like, fuck yeah, pizza.
Yeah. I mean, who says no to pizza? Let's be honest.
So, I obviously had a little bit of pizza and I kind of vetted that he was seemed all right. It was, handsome. Then we made plans to catch up another time. So we caught up another time and we went on an adventure to a castle. And he packed a picnic. Loved that.
Oh, so castle and picnic.
Honestly, best date ever.
Yeah.
We went for a walk. We had a picnic. He packed a lot of food. And then halfway through, he took me to a pub. And we were just having a drink and he came back and he's like, oh, I've just ordered us some meals. Didn't know what you like, so I ordered all sorts. And I was like, and you know what? In this economy, with the pound to the dollar, I was like,
right. What it is.
So, and at that stage, we were opening up, we were hanging out, I told him about the CurvySam life.
Okay.
From there, it got a little weird.
Uh-oh.
Because he researched me.
What, like in front of you or like between dates?
Between dates.
Okay.
And then every now and again, he'd kind of feed me these things, be like, oh, because obviously like I had a website and like a blog where I wrote stuff and I wrote stuff about what I liked to do or I had video blogs or, a long time ago. And then I never really clicked that he'd researched me so much that he was kind of trying to be appealing. They're like, oh, I've done this. And I'm like, oh my God, I've done that too.
Oh.
Yes, right.
It's like an association thing to get me to like him. Mm-hmm. Anyway, it worked.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's like, oh, I've told my cousins about you and they already follow you. And oh my gosh, I'm like dating a model. And obviously like I do a bit of modeling, but I don't want anyone to know I'm a model because most of the time I look like a potato.
So you can't set those expectations that high when they meet you straight away, right?
Yeah, exactly. And we had a couple of other catch-ups where it was like, oh, I happened to be here and he happened to be there. I was like, oh, well, let's grab lunch. So everything revolved around food.
Right.
Which everybody eats. So I just didn't really click into it.
Everybody eats, but everyone doesn't eat one of every meal at a pub after you've just gone on a massive picnic.
It must take a while to cotton on because generally a lot of dates are centre around a feeding of food of some description, a meal. So yeah,
yep. And like I'm plus size, clearly I eat, so we're good. I also like to note that he had your physique.
The poor bastard.
Right.
Just freshly exhumed.
So one of our dates, it kind of got to the point where I'm like, oh, I've got needs. I really need a night away.
Yep.
So we booked a hotel.
Great.
And it was literally one of those hotels in a suburb, and there happened to be a 1950s reunion of something or other. So there were busloads of oldies.
Oh.
Great. Fantastic.
Okay.
And I was like,
Sexy.
it was fun. They were dancing in the lobby area, and we were like sitting, obviously having some drinks and getting a bit tipsy at the bar, and we were talking about old times. And it like I wanted to like stay in that space and just keep talking to the oldies. But anyway, we got back to the bedroom, and he went, wait, how graphic are we on
dude.
this?
No, go on. Come on. Yeah,
Or
let's have
no
it.
holds barred.
All right. So, you know, you kind of like when people talk themselves up a little bit in the bedroom,
Yeah.
you think it's going to be a good time.
Okay.
He was like, oh, yeah, no, I really know what I like. I know how to handle things. Went to Pound Town, and it was not a good time.
Oh, that's really, I feel like when someone has to talk up their abilities that much, like it's never going, in my experience, anyone who's ever said that they're good at sex has not been good at sex.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just almost blanket.
Yeah, well, like it wasn't just I got the ick. Pretty
Yeah.
much. I kind of got the ick, and I was like, well, we're in a hotel room for the night, and we're just gonna sleep it off and watch movies or whatever.
Great.
So the next day at the buffet breakfast, this is where it gets juicy.
Yes,
Okay.
Very good.
You know, buffet breakfast.
Okay.
Love a buffet. Serve myself a plate of food, and then he kind of toddles off and brings me back a second plate of food.
Okay.
And I didn't even eat half of my food that I got, which wasn't even much. And he kind of pushed my plate out of the way and put a fresh one. And he said, I'd really like to see you eat this. And I was like,
Sitting in a restaurant with other people around
No.
you, and you get told that.
oldies.
Oh.
I was like, what? And then I looked down, just happened to, I like dropped my napkin or something to the left. And then he had a raging boner.
Oh my God.
A raging boner. That's everybody. Yep.
At breakfast.
Breakfast.
Yeah. And then it just clicked. And
Everything, just
very
all of the montage of all of the picnic and
Yeah.
pub meals and this and that.
there was a
my
montage,
God.
and I'm like, oh God, everything has involved food. And then he saw me see his, excitement. And I said to him, I'm like, is that why you always give me food? Is that like a thing? And he's like, yeah, it's a thing. Can you eat it, please? And I was like, fuck no, I'm full.
No.
I don't eat anymore.
Yes.
I was like, I'm
That
trying to go
means
the-
no, bitch.
Yeah. I was like, I'm going the opposite way. This is why we're going exercising and hiking and stuff because, we're not trying not to be bigger. So I asked him to drive me home. I was like, okay, it's time to go.
Oh man, I would have been getting an Uber.
Yeah. but yeah.
Okay, also the British pound to the dollar.
True.
Yep.
Okay, yep. Cost of living. We got it.
And right, I think it was back in the time. So Wi-Fi wasn't that readily available. We didn't
Yeah.
have roaming. So I used a lot of Wi-Fi when we were in
True.
places.
I did forget that you were overseas.
Yeah. So, and then that's kind of where, he dropped me off. I made him drop me off around the corner, and but he continued to kind of stalk and be like, I've told my family about you, and really, and look, I'm not here to kink shame.
No.
we all have our things,
We don't yuck people's yum.
but there was just something about the side of it that it just gave me a bit of the ick. And then I think if it happened right now, I'd be like, yeah, in this economy, absolutely feed me every time. Like 6 o'clock every night.
But
Let's
it's
do
a
this.
showing up authentically thing, like you were talking about, right? It's the fact that it's
And having someone's kink sort of placed on you, like
placed on you.
at the breakfast.
The image that I just
Yes,
got there of
thank you.
having someone's kink placed on you
At
is not
the-
my favorite thing.
at the breakfast table
At-
instead
at
of
the breakfast
introduced.
table.
Yeah.
Yeah. And look, as bigger women, as big people are sexually fetishized. So,
Yes.
the dating experience is like, yeah, girl, got big booty, or I'd like to do this, to that. And it's just like me existing on a dating like site and having photos showing up there like, you thick and you this, and can I feel like you get the weird and the wonderful. And I speak about these experiences with my friends, my straight size friends, and they don't experience that. Obviously they get like sexually approached,
Yeah.
because hookup culture is a part of dating.
But being fetishized is a completely
Completely
thing.
different.
It's
So-
it's dehumanizing.
Yeah, it wasn't. It didn't make me feel that great, but you know, it makes for a really good story, especially at the dinner table.
Yeah.
I was like, does anyone is anyone aroused right now, like in a group setting, and I know them? You know, who's excited? Who wants to buy me food? I'm poor this week. Yeah, it's for you know, it was a good time.
So, did you tell any of your family that you were staying with? What happened?
I can't even remember. I told my cousins and everything. I'm
man.
like, because obviously you check in with people. Like I checked in. My cousins are all my age, so you know we check in. And I think I even said, even like I was in my late 20s. Actually, no, I think I was in my 30s. No, I was in my 30s definitely. I think I just said to my family, I'm like, oh, I'm staying at blah blah blah's house tonight. They're like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
And I just wanted a night away, and obviously I got a night away, but definitely wasn't what I thought it was.
No.
Going out to be. And I don't even remember his name, but he's in my books as Feeder.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
that's an apt name.
But like, even if it wasn't the feeder aspect of it all, like obviously we've been doing this podcast for about 4 years, and before this I used to be a relationship columnist. If someone had Googled me and was like quoting back things that I'd said online as a kind of a lure almost, that's creepy.
It's grooming. Like I felt like I was groomed, and it was just a number of things that led up to be like, nope, get me the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
I am done.
And the boner over bacon was just the last straw.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was breakfast and boners and
Yeah, no, not at the breakfast table. And the thing is, again, and I think we can probably go into what we've learned about this particular story, is that it's all about showing up. And if he had have told you that that was a fetish from the start and given you the opportunity to consent to whether that's something that you wanted to participate in or not.
consent. Yeah,
That's huge for anybody. Like, you need to give somebody all of the information so that they can make an informed decision about whether they want to spend time with you. Basically, what he did is basically, you know, answering the door naked and then being like, "What? Why are you not just into this?" You know, there's no opportunity to say no.
If you had your time over again, Sam, would you bring it up in that car ride home, do you think? Or is it just one of those things where you're like, I'm going to cut this contact will be cut and I'll never have to deal with this behavior ever again?
Yeah, I think I would want to know from the start. I mean, I think it was a combination of things. The fact that he researched me so heavily and just had me on this pedestal, and I'm like, I'm just Sam. Like, I'm just Sam from Australia, you know? And like, would he have behaved differently not knowing who I was in the media, or, you know, what space I held, how many followers I had and all of that, you know? I think maybe
Altogether, possibly.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think there's probably is a tendency to take public-facing people like you two out of it, and just general day-to-day people. There's probably is situations where someone works with someone and knows nothing about them but like two things, but then uses those two things, adopts those two things.
Yeah,
I know your name is Stacy and you like hiking, so I'm just gonna focus on the hiking and pretend like I don't know about hiking. So it is
which is normal to do that.
Yeah.
Like, it's a point of interest, like a conversation, but he had, like, in the course of conversations told me, oh, this video you did here, that was really cool. And then, like, you know, you almost had a nip slip at 6 minutes and 2 seconds.
That's
absolutely
weird.
not.
And it's not the first time that's happened to me. I've had a lot of people research and try and groom me from watching, because my life has been online for 12 years. And now I am pulling back and I'm going in a different direction.
I applaud that, and I applaud you taking space for a bit of self-care, and kind of, it's very difficult to be in the public eye for that long. But is there any way that the researching could be considered like... So I'm not trying to justify it, because I personally, we've very famously refused to Google dates on this podcast.
Yep, I don't do it either.
I absolutely will not do it. But do you think that maybe some of them could have had the intention or misguided intention that by looking into your interest, they were doing a good thing and trying to relate to you?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's like a normal human connection. Like, you want to relate to people. You want to, you know, it's common interests that bring us together.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm a little bit more mindful now. And obviously being like fetishized, anyone who has a predisposition to liking bigger bodies, you know, there's been a number of times where I've gone on dates with people and they've dated my followers. I've had people reach out to me from the past who I've dated them on and off, and then I'll have like a random Instagram message come through and be like, oh yeah, I'm here with Jack. He told me you guys used to hang out. Is that true? Like, do I believe him or not? And I'm like, fuck off, Jack. Stop using me for clout. Like, I bang CurvySam.
It's like, oh my God, yes.
But then I had this fear of, obviously I'm in Brisbane. It's a small, it's 2 seconds of, 2 degrees of separation.
Yep.
And if someone likes a plus size body, it means they have dated someone else who's in the plus size industry or like in the same similar space as me. And there's been a couple of times I've shared my dating stories online because obviously I actually hosted a Sex in the City style dating TikTok, brought people along on the dates, and I changed all the details like jobs, super things, like, and people would reach out to me and say, like in the comment section, be like, is that Bob? I don't know why I chose the name Bob. That's like not a sexy name. Is it James? We're changing it to James.
No, my ex is James. That's bad. Let's go back to Bob.
Okay, Bob. Anyway, back to Bob. And I'd be like, that's not Bob. And then other people would message me like, yeah, that's totally Bob. And then anyway, Bob would message me saying, hey, I found your TikToks. People are sending it to me. And I'm like, how?
I know.
How
Honestly,
is this world like connecting like that?
This is why we have the don't be a dick rule. Like if you figure out who someone's talking about, that's not what this is about at all.
Yeah, it's yeah, Bob. And do you know, my latest date was in Melbourne. Am I telling too many stories?
No, we love it. Keep going.
That's what you're here for.
I'm going to close off one of my dating stories with my latest one.
Great.
So we decided to meet up in the city. And
is this a Tinder, a Bumble, a Hinge, a Mimble? I don't know.
A Mimble?
What's a Mimble?
Go and get it. I don't know.
It was from a dating app, and I had seen photos of him, and we had chatted on Snapchat. But I have been burnt before with people not showing their teeth. But then I kind of
yes.
Yeah. There's a prominent person in Brisbane who has a very big fat fetish, and he has rotted teeth, and he has a very high profile job, drives a nice car, has all the good things, lives a good life, but dental decay is a big thing. And obviously, everyone's in different situations with their health and everything, but I've obviously had like a really terrible situation. And so I went on a date with Mike. Mike and I met up at a bar. We were sitting probably a little bit closer than what we're sitting now. So probably say 1.5 meters.
Little cafe table size.
Yeah. And he'd showered, he'd gone to gym, he washed his car, but his breath smelled so bad. And I was actually sitting across from him, and, we'd chatted on Snapchat. I'd like seen the tips of his teeth, and then he did this like toothy big grin, and his teeth were green.
Oh.
Fully green.
Oh.
Green and yellow. And I could smell a decay or something from across the table. And
That's no good.
we all have our things. It's not even about having nice, perfect, straight teeth, because like who does these days, especially in their 30s, right? But turns out he hasn't brushed his teeth in 3 years.
Oh.
Now look, how many days could it possibly be in 3 years? All right, it's only over 1,000 days that this man's gone without brushing his teeth.
3 years.
Okay, so like
I don't know
I'm
what
all
the
like
fuss is about.
explain my face right now. Explain my face.
Excited shock is
Wide-eyed.
how I read it.
Holy
there's excitedness.
fuck you
in
guys.
It.
Yeah.
I'm all for like not shaming something about physical appearance, especially if they can't help it.
Exactly.
But I'm sorry, you can help brushing your teeth.
is a choice. And he was jacked. He
But it
had
affects
muscles.
your health as well. Like dental health affects your overall health, which is why government, it should be part of friggin' Medicare. God damn it.
Yeah, it should.
All right, I'm off my high horse about that. But
the stench.
how did you find out that he hadn't? Did he tell you?
Look, I'm not proud of this.
Okay.
You sound a little proud. A little proud. You sound a little proud.
And
There's
I would
a lot of-
like to add that this was the climax of my dating career. This is when I was like, I am fucking done.
Yeah.
I am done. Also, because I had sat in the car and did a TikTok being like, I'm so excited to meet him. Like, it's, it was just like a quick date. I'm like, this has happened really fast. We've only spoken for a day. And it's like, oh yeah, I'm free. You're free. I'm free. Let's do this. Right. Yeah. So he got me a lemon lime and bitters because it's my go-to. It's how you get to my heart. So I got there and he's like, do you want a drink? I'm here before you. I was like, yeah, lemon lime bitters. Sat down, and I tell you what, I wanted to drink that lemon lime bitters so fast. And I had a chat to him, and I was like, hey, look, like you've presented yourself and I think you're really nice, but Like, are you okay with your, I said, but actually I've spoken about this. It's in my profile. It is in my profile. It says oral hygiene is really important to me.
Mm-hmm.
It is one, and like, I don't say a lot on my profile. And he's like, he kind of, I didn't want to make him feel embarrassed. But so I just had to say something. I just asked him, I was like, what's going on? What's going on with this?
I actually think, like, I'm the type of person who will be like, you've got something in your teeth, you've smudged your thing out. Like, I sometimes some people, I said to someone that they had terrible breath before and they're like, oh my God, are you kidding me? I had no idea.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
I don't know if I would tell someone that.
Got to say it kindly.
Exactly.
But,
I mean,
or ask the question.
Absolutely. I mean, I've been on a date and someone said, you know, you're bigger than I thought you were going to be. And I'm like, righto.
Yeah.
But you just move on from that. But I'd felt fucked around. I was at my limit where I'm like, I am done. Why can't people just be who they say they are? And I was like, so you went to gym before you saw me? And I'm like, when was the last time you brushed your teeth? And he's like, oh, I actually like haven't for 3 years. And I'm like, are you getting therapy? Like, are you good? Like, are you all right?
Are you okay?
Like, do you have the support networks around you to make sure, like, I was like, because, you know, I had said to him, I was like, look, your oral hygiene, your health, it's connected to like your heart, your cardiovascular. Like,
absolutely.
It's really important. And I'd said to him, look, I was really straight with you and said in my profile that oral hygiene was really important to me and you've turned up with green teeth. So I'm going to go. And I like chugged my drink and left.
Yeah, because you're not leaving that drink behind.
And I felt like the biggest cunt. And I spoke about it online. I spoke about it and I'm like, I said something and I said it in a nice way and like in a caring way. And I just said, hey, actually, look, nice to meet you, but this is not going to happen. And then I'm like, am I being judgy because people go through different stages of their lives? And then I'm like, no, well, I specifically said that it is important to me.
It was a boundary that you'd set.
It's a boundary. Yeah,
and
you're right.
someone stepped over that boundary. And also, you know, like if it's with teeth, it can be difficult because teeth are expensive, right?
Exactly.
But the one thing that is not expensive is buying a toothbrush and
he
using
had a
some
Porsche
toothpaste
at the front.
Yeah, and I was like,
So-
and you said that he had a job and a Porsche,
Yeah.
and like you can afford a tube of toothpaste.
Yeah.
On that.
And he was wearing designer clothes. He had gone to gym, like he had nice car keys, and I actually saw him get into the car and drive off. So it wasn't just like a wanky thing. And so that was the end of my dating. I was like, we are closing the book. This is just a chapter after
really
chapter of
valid
disaster.
reason. That is a valid reason to close that book. I have closed the book for less.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
You know, I wish we could take away the visual side of dating and just, you know, be matched with
Connect
people.
to souls.
Connect to souls,
yeah.
yeah.
Like uncharacteristically mushy from me, but like sometimes it's just, you know, you find a person who's how do I say this? Like soul or aura or like
Yeah. And you love who you love. Like,
yeah.
But then with the green teeth, it was my second
But
green
it would
teeth
be-
experience, and I was like, nah.
That
I can't.
when you are using your teeth when you're making out with someone, sort of like your mouth would be on that mouth, and so you're putting your own health at risk with
And I
stuff
think-
like that.
I think it would be more unfair to go after someone's teeth or hygiene or whatever out of the blue. You're having a friendly lunch with someone and you go,
And you
your
go
teeth, what's
them.
something there?
Yeah.
But if on your dating profile that they've read, and on my profile it says absolutely no French people, but you rock up on my first date speaking French, I probably have
Let me
a
just
right.
point out, he has no profile, he has a girlfriend, and he's fine with French people, just in case anyone hasn't listened to this podcast
Yes,
before.
I forget that not everyone.
Sorry,
isn't
Grandma, I'm part French. Anyway.
not everyone is an adoring long-time listener. I
No.
forget.
Does Grandma listen to this?
No, but I wish she would. I
that'd
actually
be
think
fun.
it'd give her a bit of a jolt. I think she'd
A
like it.
highlight of her week.
But surely you're allowed to say, hang on my thing that you read, there's information
I
here
set
that
a
you
boundary,
didn't adhere to.
like-
So probably uncomfortable, but probably fair in the end.
All right. So what I think we'll do, because I have a feeling that you have amazing stories to tell, and I have a couple of other questions that I was planning on asking you, but I think we'll wrap it up there, and I'm going to tell you that you have an open invitation to come back
Yes,
whenever
absolutely.
you would like.
Whenever you want.
Thanks. I live walking distance, so this is very handy.
Ding, ding.
Fantastic. But let's go through just what we've learned in general. So first of all, Sam, what are one or two things that you've learned from both of the stories that you've brought to us today?
I feel like even though I'm a super confident person, I feel like from the opposite sex, there's still people out there who don't authentically want to show up as themselves.
Mm-hmm.
They're living in a past version of themselves. So I guess, you know, sometimes dealing with the opposite sex, you're like, oh no, they've got it together, it's going to be fine. But like, no, people are people, and we all have our things that we deal with and that we haven't moved past.
Yeah.
I'm not perfect either. I would actually really like to disclose that I'm not the most perfect person at communicating, and there's probably things that I can improve on, and I try and do everything with kindness, but learning to be kind and be a little bit more open-minded. And I'm very targeted with my questions now. I'm very straight up, and obviously I'm vetting people through like Snapchat. Like I need to see them heartily laugh. Like I wish there was like a scratch and sniff, you know, like situation. Like breathe into it. Let me smell you.
Yeah, well, or that there was a freaky dating show at one point where they let you smell a bunch of T-shirts and you got to decide who you wanted to.
Pheromones.
The pheromones thing. Because pheromones, you know, bad breath, pheromones, I don't know. Sometimes you smell someone, you're just like, damn, like, absolutely. Absolutely. Tom, what have you learned today?
Take that point and stretch it a little further. But there seems to be, not just from Sam and her stories today, there seems to be a want and a need for just more honesty on dating profiles, right?
Yes.
And I think the general view is that you're competing with all these people and profiles on this little cube in someone's hand, right? You're competing with that face and that face and that face. But so everyone's sort of elevating and heightening and buffing their stats and making themselves look something else better or than what they are. Whereas more honesty will probably end up in the long term harvesting and reaping some better results, right? Is that just me? Am I crazy for assuming that?
I'd like to add that I love the profiles that say, "Hey, I got a dad bod." Like, love that. Yes,
love it. Yeah,
I don't want people like faking or putting up photos from the past with abs because, I mean, everyone's attracted to different things. I mean, there's a percentage of people who are rounder, and I think that's awesome. And there's actually profiles there saying, "Oh, these are photos of me. Like, I'm a big person, but I'm working hard on my fitness to lose weight." And I'm like, you don't need to say that on a dating app. Like, it doesn't matter what part of like the journey of your body that you're in. You can't say, "Oh yeah, I'm fat now, but just so you know, I'm working myself to be smaller." So it's not a vibe. I like the people who are just like, "I got a dad bod. I'm a great cuddler." They're like, yes.
Amazing. My big thing that I've learned, and it's a lesson that I continue to learn over and over again, is that if people don't show up authentically from the start, how fucking exhausting is it going to be if you actually end up liking them and having to be non-authentic for the entire time?
Yes.
Exactly. It's just why everyone is burning out from dating sites. I went on a singles picnic recently and that was fun.
Yeah.
It wasn't anyone I really wanted to connect with again, but I am now prioritizing real life experiences, connecting with people, whether I'm going to try speed dating. Maybe I should come back after our speed date.
Yeah.
We
Well,
need a
shit, I'll
report.
come with you. I'm interested in trying speed dating.
Yep,
Done.
roving
Let's go.
reporters. Yep, tableside.
Rather than the superficialness and the exchange and the transaction of just swiping and judging. Like I'd rather...
It's like gambling, right? It's like pokies. You're addicted to the swipe. You're addicted to the swipe, and then you don't cash out because you're constantly swiping for the
just
next
lose
bigger,
all your
better
money.
jackpot. Yeah,
And
you're
I've-
poor.
I get an instinct of a feeling of there's always someone else. There's always someone else behind. I
Exactly.
can swipe left
Yeah,
or
options.
right. There'll
Yeah.
always
It's
be
the
another.
illusion
There'll
of
always be
choice.
so I don't have to like this, but there are 9 out of 10. Next,
Yeah.
I'm only here for 10s. Where
Yeah.
are they? Next, not
Yeah.
good enough. Where it's like
just
no, you're
not
just
right.
you're just blitzing through 100 profiles in 20 minutes. You know?
Yeah, and the one other lesson I really want to drive home is that if you don't give people all of the information up front, then they cannot consent to what you're putting out there. You need to make sure that if there is something that you enjoy, like I'm not saying turn up to a date and be like, by the way, I'm really into leathers, whips and chains, but you can't bring out a whip and chain on somebody unless you've had that conversation
Surprise
about
whip.
it.
Woohoo.
Yeah. Surprise whips, like the previous episode, surprise sex fans, never a good idea. Like absolutely not. You need to let people... You need to trust that people will make the right decisions for them. And if you tell them something about yourself that they don't like, then you've just done yourself the favor of clearing out somebody who's not your match, and you will find somebody else.
It's just a numbers game, isn't it?
Pretty much.
I
And
want
I'm not
someone-
good at maths, so that's why I stopped dating.
Me either. Do you know when people are like, "Oh, there's plenty of fish in the ocean"? You're like, "Have you seen the ocean? It's like munted.
Full of
everyone's-
trash.
Yeah.
It's actually on track in the next, I think, 2 or 3 years to have more pieces of trash in it than fish.
There you go.
Yeah, documentaries, love them. Now, Sam, what I want to do from here is you told us about a wonderful little initiative or business venture that you are setting off on soon, and I
Yes.
want you to talk about it because I love the shit out of it.
Oh, I have goosebumps. So I am launching a size-inclusive, non-gender-specific range of bathrobes and sleep dresses, and with the goal of actually mid-year launching plus-size towels.
Yes.
So towels that people can wrap around their bodies. Now, my robes will wrap around your body. It's called Hilda's. So when I said I went to England and I used to hang out with my great-grandma, that's Hilda.
Bless.
Old
Cute.
Hilds.
Very
Love
cute.
it.
So my brand is athomewithhilda.com.au, but known as Hilda's, but, couldn't get that domain. So,
Yeah.
And I'm launching size 8 to size 34.
That is fantastic.
I've measured 1,000 people's arms. I have
Jeez.
made sure that I have a really big community. Put surveys out. And so I've got robes that are reversible.
Yes.
I have sleep dresses that are breastfeeding friendly. They're kind of ones you can sleep in and then just get up and take the kids to school and just, or if you're feeling a bit nervous about showing your body, you can literally pop your titties out and then, ride your friend or, we're not
just unclip and
how
there we go.
graphic are we getting? Anyway, whatever person you choose to interact with, you can kind of cover up your tummy and you can be comfortable, and it's something you can put on next to your bed and just pop it on, or So it's all about being at home with Hilda and wearing a beautiful robes, and I'm launching this Sunday. I think 5 o'clock's going to be the time. I'm still working out the tech.
It will definitely be this Sunday because we release on Thursdays. So if you're sitting there on Thursday being like, oh my God, I love this, Sunday.
Yeah,
that is
Sunday.
the day.
It's the first Sunday in April, and it's athomewithhilda.com.au. I'm actually doing a pre-release, so if you sign up to my e-newsletter, you're going to get access before everyone else, and I 100% know I'm going to sell
There you
out.
go. The robe is such a perfect, if not for you, such a perfect gift for someone else. Such
In time for
such
Mother's
a
Day.
wonderful gift to
Yes.
receive. And support local, support a new business, support someone who's passionate and knowledge about what they're
And being
what they're
inclusive,
providing.
because
Yeah.
you know what? If
Come
I
on.
can do it on a single income
Yes.
in this economy,
economy.
that's definitely my line for the podcast. It's I'm showing that I've done everything I can to make this happen. I'm still selling bits and pieces to be like, holy shit, I need to pay for $2,500 of freight for this, but
That's
it's important to me to
amazing.
be inclusive. And imagine you could do his and her robes, but matching, or her and her, or his and his, for it not being non-gender
Because this
specific.
is the thing. If you look at female robes, a lot of the times they are floral with bunnies or fluffy whatevers. And the men's robes, they come in navy, occasionally grey, and
Yeah.
that's about it.
Yes,
So
yes.
with the reversible robe, I've got a plain colour on one side. So I've got a botanical-ish print, which I actually didn't want to launch with, but it turns out I'm $20,000 too short to launch with my custom designs. So I've designed the robes.
So let's fund this
Yes,
lot
come
so
on.
that she
Yeah.
can release the custom designs.
and then we have really cool geometric prints that are like checkers, and I'm doing a Christmas range, and I'm doing a bridal range for males and females.
Now,
Great.
this is why I'm obsessed with this. And I don't often talk about my body on this podcast, but I am a very large breasted woman. And when I wear robes, they look fucking pornographic. So I am very excited at having some robe that may actually cross over
that's
the front.
thing. And also, sometimes you get a robe that barely crosses over your bust, and then you sit down and you're like, woohoo, gash
Ooh,
flash.
gash flash.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm very excited about the potential for bath towels for exactly the same reason. Because again, wraps around the top, not around the bottom, or wraps around the bottom, not around the top.
Exactly.
There's issues.
The bath sheets, I mean, everyone's like, I just use bath sheets. I'm like, you don't know that so many people cannot get them around their bodies. It's a thing. So that's my vision. That's my goal. We're starting off small, and I have big plans for At Home with Hilda.
What's the website once more?
athomewithhilda.com.au.
Get there, people. Thank you.
Sam, thank you so much for showing up and being your authentic, fabulous self, telling all these great stories
Yes.
and telling us about your wonderful business venture. We will definitely beg, borrow, or steal whatever we have to get you back on again, because I have so many more questions I want to ask you about some stuff.
Absolutely.
In the meantime, Tom, thank you as ever for being my co-host.
Absolute pleasure.
Zane, thank you for being a producer. And I just encourage everybody to show up as yourself, because by God, if you don't, how exhausting is it going to be pretending to be someone else forever?